Gotta watch my back, trophies check, I know this clown.
Catch made by DeVonta Smith. Makes an electric opening play.
What a great route by DeVonta Smith.
DeVonta Smith of the University of Alabama.
I'm not the biggest. I've been doubted a lot just because of my size. And really, it just comes down to you put your mind to it, you can do it.
Looks near side, DeVonta. He's got it. It's caught. It's a touchdown for Brown.
I have unfinished business to take care of, and the only way to do that is to stay one more year. In order to find out the last time a college football player won the Heisman without being a running back or a quarterback, we'd need to rewind all the way back to 1997. The winner that year was Charles Woodson, a Michigan cornerback and now Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist. The last time a wide receiver won the most coveted award in college football, one must look back to 1991. Then there is this year's winner, a player who has overcome being undersized to not only win the Heisman Trophy, but to become the best player in the nation. In fact, he became one of the most dominant forces on a dynasty team in college football. DeVonta Smith was a surefire NFL draft pick in 2019, and that's saying something considering how loaded the 2019 draft class was with wide receiver talent. However, he had unfinished business with his team, the University of Alabama, another national championship, and maybe even more admirably, he had the goal to finish his college degree, even though he would without a doubt receive a hefty paycheck once he autographed an NFL contract. That one skinny kid from Amite, Louisiana has checked his boxes. He is a Heisman Trophy winner, Biletnikoff Award winner, among many other accolades. He's a first-round NFL draft lock, a bachelor's degree holder, and a two-time national champion, and his name is DeVonta Smith. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here, and today we're going to be diving into one of the greatest wide receiver prospects that we have ever seen going into the NFL draft. Before we get to the content, I just want to let you guys know that we're giving away a PlayStation 5 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. If you want any additional entries, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. When DeVonta Smith's high school coach would walk the halls of Amite High, in between the bells, he would often see Smith on the ground, oddly doing some push-ups while the other students hurriedly stepped around him, just trying not to be late for class. Smith would crank 10 push-ups out and still slide into the seat in his biology class just before the bell rang. That coach, Zapania Powell, would use DeVonta's nickname, Tay-Tay, and ask him what he was doing. Smith would respond with, "Coach, I'm just trying to get bigger." DeVonta Smith was a highly recruited wide receiver and defensive back in high school, but he was only 6 feet tall and barely hit the 120-pound mark on the scale in his freshman year. He was hoping 100 push-ups a day would help put on muscle that would make him a more sizable recruit. He built his toughness at the local park basketball courts, and he was known as the scrawny kid that wouldn't necessarily get picked first when the other kids were choosing teams. All the other kids were bigger, and he would play on that cement slab with 2 crooked hoops and a chain link fence surrounding the court, hearing from the other kids saying, "You're too little." But every day he showed up. Smith said, "That's where I got my toughness from. I believe it prepared me mentally because when I was at the park, me being the smallest person, they tried to bully me. I could never let that get to me. I have the edge I have now. I like contact. I get that from the park. It was tough out there." DeVonta's mom had a rule. When the streetlight next to the family house lit up, it was time for Tay to go inside. His hometown, like a lot of small cities in the South, was full of quote-unquote trouble spots, and plenty of highly touted athletes have ended up in them. This is according to Vincent Sanders, who was Smith's barber, who has been cutting DeVonta's hair for years, and this was via a Sports Illustrated interview from 2018. Smith said that his mother's rule of him getting home early only made him go harder and do the right things. Although DeVonta was really fast and becoming more skilled in the gridiron, there were a lot of doubts that he would become an all-time great All-American type wide receiver in college, and this is all because of his size. When I say DeVonta Smith was fast in high school, I mean he was fast. Besides playing football and basketball, where he averaged 18 points per game in his senior year, he was elite in track and field. A versatile athlete, Smith placed in the top 3 in state in multiple years in more than one event. He placed first, second, or third in the long jump, 100-meter, 400-meter, triple jump, and 100-meter race. In football, he didn't hold back either. He was skinny with long feet, and he ran drills with no mistakes, and finished with more drills after practice, asking quarterbacks to throw to him, and then when he got home, he did even more drills. He played defensive back too, and played much larger than his 6', 100-something frame. As a freshman and sophomore in high school, his wide receiver coach, Christopher Gordon, said, "He is probably the toughest kid I've ever coached. Most kids don't want to play defense because there isn't a lot of shine and you have to be tough. But when we would put him at defensive back, he would come down, throw his body into guys, and knock them out. That's what I'm really proud of, his toughness. He will try to rip your head off." By the time DeVonta Smith was a senior, he was a 5-star recruit. He played cornerback, receiver, and kick returner, and he was on the field for around 90 of every 100 snaps. He earned the Most Outstanding Player award in the Louisiana High School Class 3A State Football Championship, and although his team lost, he ran a kick 93 yards for a touchdown, caught 8 passes for 111 yards, and had an interception on defense. The Power 5 schools came calling. LSU, Miami, Oklahoma, Alabama, and more wanted DeVonta Smith on their roster. The town that DeVonta grew up in, Louisiana, is just located 57 miles away from Baton Rouge. In Amite, there is a lot of purple and gold everywhere, inside the barbershops, on the back of car windows, and on flags hanging from front porches. So much that one might get a disgusted look if you said "Roll Tide" while strolling down Main Street. However, fast forward to 2020, and the once little Tay-Tay is now the University of Alabama captain, and the reason that this little town near Cajun country has turned crimson.
For the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be taking my talents to University of Alabama.
Nick Saban at the University of Alabama, who is probably the best guy to build a winning team in the history of college football, saw the potential in Smith and knew that he needed him to join the Crimson Tide. DeVonta Smith headed 300 miles northeast and put on the famed UA helmet with a mission. Smith started as a defender during his freshman year, and Saban said about Smith that "I think it speaks volumes for what kind of person he is, what kind of competitor he is, what kind of team player that he is. Probably one of the most selfless guys that I've ever had the opportunity to coach in terms of whatever he can do to help the team he wants to do." That time on defense helped Smith become a mind reader when it came to playing on the offensive side of the ball, because he knew what the defensive backs were going to do because he had been one himself. Also, that work ethic he had in high school. It didn't just change, it just grew more robust and more specialized. The 100 push-ups a day he did in high school that quickly turned into 100 catches a day from the jugs machine. Smith only had 8 total catches for 160 yards his freshman year of college and 3 touchdowns, but 2 of those touchdowns were game winners, and 1 was the game winner. His first game-winning reception was against Mississippi State, a 26-yard pass from Jalen Hurts, but this true freshman made 2 game-winning catches for Alabama. Smith had just 1 catch in the national championship, but that 1 catch has been called the catch, as it was the game-winning touchdown for the Crimson Tide.
Back out for it, fires to the end zone, touchdown! Alabama wins! It's a true freshman, Tagovailoa to DeVonta Smith.
However, that 41-yard reception in overtime made the college football world talk more about Tua Tagovailoa than the guy who had caught the legendary pass. But soon that would all change. He wasn't quite a headline name yet, in part due to the mere 6 catches for 93 yards he mustered outside of those 2 very important touchdowns. Thus, he didn't find himself on any preseason honors lists going into his sophomore season. That next year, he doubled his touchdown count with 6 and had 42 receptions for 693 yards, but Smith followed up with 14 touchdowns his junior season, including a school record 5 touchdowns against Ole Miss in the first half alone. Then, boom! Smith is a top prospect for the NFL draft. The football standout could have easily been drafted after his junior year, but Alabama had not won the national championship since his freshman year, and he needed credits to be fulfilled before he earned his degree. Thus, DeVonta Smith, to the glee of Nick Saban and company, returned for his senior season. And it proved to be the right decision, as the extra effort he had put in his entire life paid gratuitously. Smith, with his gift of speed, his uncanny receiving skills, combined with a comprehension of the game, led DeVonta Smith to become Alabama's all-time receiving leader with 3,750 yards and all-time touchdown leader with 43 touchdowns. Smith's decision to return in 2020 paid off for him big time. He now stands at 6'1", 175 pounds, but if you watch the film and the way he plays, it's that of a Goliath. His nickname is no longer Tay-Tay, except for in his hometown. More notably around college football, he's been called the Slim Reaper. Smith has the character that NFL teams look for too. He is the ultimate team player. He has shattered team and league records and was named All-American, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, AP College Football Player of the Year, and a slew of other awards, plus serving as a Alabama two-time team captain. DeVonta's play wasn't without some very exciting moments on the field. Just this Heisman and National Championship year alone, he caught the ball 105 times for 1,641 yards and 20 touchdowns, along with returning 9 kicks for 2,019 yards and 1 touchdown. It has truly been a season overflowing with highlights. How about his punt return touchdown against Arkansas, where for 84 yards, DeVonta legged it right down the middle of the field, leaving every single person in the dust? Then what about the one-handed catch over one of the best cornerbacks in the nation, Derek Stingley Jr. of LSU? That pass looked like it was destined for the stands when Smith made a back-bending, unbelievable leap and pulled it down with one hand for the touchdown. This is known by many in the nation as DeVonta Smith's Heisman moment. How about the time that he had a record 15 catches in the SEC title game against Florida? Or those 3 touchdowns against Notre Dame to advance his team to the ultimate goal? Then his performance in the first half alone of the national championship was, well, GOAT-worthy.
Jones flips it to him. DeVonta headed for the end zone. And what a catch.
Another example of why he's the premier receiver in college football.
And it's just too easy for DeVonta Smith.
His first half was beautiful. A silky toe tap completion on the sideline and many more spectacular plays. He received shout-outs from LeBron James, who called him a mix between Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. Devontae Adams, a great NFL wide receiver, even acknowledged Smith's dominance and said, "From now on, if you misspell my name, make sure it's Devontae, cause he that boy." One of Smith's former teammates, receiver Jerry Jeudy, who Smith used to play rock, paper, scissors with for dibs on routes that would be more likely to score a touchdown, tweeted that Smith was the greatest wide receiver to play college football. Although in that third quarter, Smith dislocated his finger and his game was cut short as they couldn't get it popped back into place, his 12 catches in that first half were the most in the history of the college football playoff national championship, and it only took those 30 short minutes for DeVonta Smith to rack up 215 yards and 3 touchdowns and to basically get the win in the bag for the Crimson Tide and to give Nick Saban his 6th Alabama national championship ring.
And I told Smitty after the game, I said, "You're the only player that I know that missed a whole half because of your finger." Just kidding. And he actually wanted to go in and play, and we just didn't allow him to. But he's a great competitor. I heard somebody say he set some kind of record in the first half of the game. Heavens knows what he'd have done if he'd have played the whole game. But you're talking about the ultimate warrior and the ultimate competitor, and I'm so happy for him that he was recognized as the best player in college football, because I don't think anybody's done more for their team than he has for our team.
Although his playing time in that championship was brief, he still received another trophy for his mantle as he was deservingly named Offensive Most Valuable Player. Smith said of the national championship,
I just practiced hard all week, just worked and just came to do my job, and it just worked out well for me and the team. Just the love for the team, just everybody want to do what they can, and just having the young guys there just ready if anything happens, just their dedication and just the love that this team has for each other. I wouldn't be able to do none of this without my teammates or without God. Just coming here, I just put in the work every day, no matter what the situation was, just believing in my coaches and them putting me in the right situations just to make plays.
Smith will have his name called very early in the NFL draft this April, maybe in the top few picks, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he came back. Considering how last year's NFL draft was loaded with wide receiver talent, DeVonta Smith could have been anything from a late first-round pick to an early second-round pick. But since he came back, won the Heisman, and this year's wide receiver class isn't nearly on the level that last year's was, I'm predicting that DeVonta Smith could go as early as number 2 in the NFL draft and will not fall out of the top 10 NFL draft picks.
The ultra weapon that DeVonta Smith is. How much better he can make Sam Darnold look because of what the Jets have been devoid of. And to me, I don't mind the idea of him being number 2 overall.
He has all the magical tools that an offensive coordinator could ask of a wide receiver. Smith is the one who wins the ball. His hands are good and he rarely drops the ball and has the athleticism to make one-handed catches or snag underthrown balls. His strides are effortlessly long and crazy fast. He glides down the field separating further and further from the opposing defense. He gains ground at an amazing rate, or all of a sudden, he is at the corner of the end zone wide open. Even against future NFL players such as Ohio State's cornerback Shaun Wade, Smith proves that he is the better player. On top of that, there is a beautiful trend on cornerbacks that used to play wide receiver and wide receivers that used to play cornerback as well. Something about them having the IQ to understand what the opposing position will do really gives them the upper hand in their route running or when they're covering the receiver. Perhaps the most intriguing question is who will draft DeVonta Smith. Any NFL team would be blessed to have him on their roster, as he's not just another University of Alabama all-star. He is the all-star. There is a team that I can think of that knows how to turn undersized receivers into Pro Bowlers, and that's the New England Patriots. Considering Nick Saban and Bill Belichick's relationship, and the fact that the Patriots desperately could use some wide receiver help, I could see him going there. But I could even see the Miami Dolphins trading up to the tail end of the top 10 to potentially try to draft DeVonta Smith, although I can't necessarily see them using their number 3 overall pick on him when they have much more pressing needs at left tackle. This is just a beautiful Cinderella story because I would love to see DeVonta Smith reunite with Tua Tagovailoa. And if the Cowboys could snag CeeDee Lamb last year with the 18th pick in the NFL draft, I could potentially see the Dolphins also snagging DeVonta Smith 18th overall as well. That's if Smith lasts that long. The offense would totally change for Miami and would give their young quarterback confidence to be throwing to a familiar face who happens to be a very polished receiver as a rookie. Tua's already sold. He gave a shout out on Instagram and called Smith the GOAT. Tua also said recently about Smith, "I was with him for 3 years. He's very smart, very instinctive, very athletic, and very fast too. He goes up and gets the ball." With Smith, the Dolphins could climb back to the top of the AFC East, a place that they haven't been since Smith was in the 4th grade. It seems that a lot of analysts and draft experts are still saying that DeVonta Smith is too thin and too skinny. I have a feeling that DeVonta Smith will prove the doubters wrong like he did in high school and like he did in college. He's built like a prize fighter, and so far, he has won all the fights he has been faced with.
The point is, you can get great receivers later in the draft.
Besides, he's not the first 175-pounder in the NFL. Deshaun Jackson, T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Lockett are also around 175 pounds to 180 pounds. Smith will be fine. In fact, he'll probably be a Pro Bowler before they know it. DeVonta Smith is an example for all those kids whose shoulder blades stick out, their feet seem too big for their body, and although they drink a gallon of milk a day and go through buckets of protein powder, their scale never seems to get to that next notch. He is an underdog story that proves that if you work hard enough and your attitude is right, you can reach your dreams. The most admirable fact is that he is aware of this, and he wants to make sure that he gives encouragement to those skinny kids. As DeVonta was making his acceptance for the Heisman Trophy, he said,
"And just to all the young kids out there that's not the biggest, not the strongest, just keep pushing, because I'm not the biggest. I've been doubted a lot just because of my size. And really, it just comes down to you put your mind to it, you can do it. No job is too big. If you put your mind to it, you can do it, and just keep believing in God, and you'll get where you want to be."